You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show of the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. We don't have any new callers, but we got Mike, a.k.a. Packer Superfan. What's going on?
Good morning, Ryan. Mike Hebring, a.k.a. Packers Superfan.
What's up, dude?
Hey, Ryan, how you doing today? I just wanted to call in. Haven't called in for a while. Just been kind of waiting for a lot of this stuff to settle in regards to some of the post-off or the end of season coaching carousel moves and kind of, obviously everybody was waiting for the big one. Who is the defensive coordinator going to be and all that? I think that it's, kind of interesting to watch the whole process. One of the things I find fascinating is that, this, with Gannon coming and Matt LaFleur and the Packers making this decision to go with Gannon, I think initially everybody was kind of, questioning in that move, especially given the light that they hadn't even talked to Jimmy Leonard yet. And, now it's been a couple weeks later and everybody seems to be coming around to the Gannon hire. But I think that, I think there's people out there, and I guess I'll put myself in this camp. I'm still not on board with the Gannon hire. I just think that the Packers process wasn't good in the hiring process. I think, I think they jumped the gun. And ultimately maybe they went to hire Jimmy Leonard, but I think they needed to at least talk to him. Because what's going to happen now, and I think it's valid, what's going to happen now, and that's, again, I'm in this camp. I'm not at all convinced or swayed by, everybody coming around to Gannon. I don't buy it. I think what happens is we make a hire and everybody gets behind the guy and, we go down we kind of run through this tunnel together. I get that, but, I just want it to be known that there are people out here that don't necessarily agree with it. I just think it was a bad process. It wouldn't have hurt anything to wait and talk to Leonard. And you know what? Yeah, maybe Gannon would have ended up taking a different position with another, taking another opportunity with another team. We don't know that. Nobody knows that. I just think it was a bad process all along. And if he did, so be it. I mean, there were other candidates out there that we could have certainly looked at. So, do I hate it 100%? No, I don't. I mean, Gannon could be very successful in Green Bay. I'm certainly not going to say that he can't. But I just don't like didn't like the process.
Yeah, and I've made similar comments. I think we just have to be careful not to assume a lot of things. I mean, we don't know that the Packers wanted to interview him necessarily. We don't really know how in demand Jim Leonard was. It seems to me he was less in demand than we thought. I forget what I just reported on recently is there was a team that just hired a defensive coordinator, and they essentially said, had it not been this, we would have wanted either that guy or Gannon. And it wasn't Leonard, right? So Leonard seemed to be less in demand across the NFL than Gannon was. It's possible that they wanted to, but they were worried, which I don't love that excuse. But at the same time, if you're 90% sure that Gannon is your guy, and you're kind of just like, well, it couldn't hurt to just wait and see what happens. But you hear from Gannon or whatever, hey, I'm going to take this job unless, what do you do? So, and that's the thing. I mean, that's obviously just a random scenario I made up, but that's the point. We don't have any idea what's going on. I think there are a lot of scenarios where the Packers and Matt LaFleur or whatever the process was, primarily LaFleur, I would assume. There's a lot of scenarios where that played out poorly, and I would not be on board with that process. The problem is I just don't want to assume that I know what the process was. I think we all wanted Leonard. Not all, but a lot of us wanted Leonard. I think a lot of us assume he was going to be the best candidate, and we panicked and jumped the gun, which, again, I specifically said that as a possibility and something I hope didn't happen. But panicked and jumped the gun for fear of losing one of our top candidates. Because remember, one or two had already come off the board. And so, we were possibly concerned that, if Gannon doesn't get hired, then it's all or nothing for Leonard, and he may not want to come here. And if you look at it, I mean, he's a former, as much as we all talk about it's a no-brainer that he would have wanted to come here, he's a former Buffalo Bills player, and he is right now with the Buffalo Bills. So he may have gone to the Buffalo Bills, leaving us with no Gannon, no Leonard, who knows. Again, I hope that's not the case, because I wouldn't be super thrilled if that was, a panic hire. But again, there are a lot of scenarios where you look at it and think it at least could make sense. Where, if we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt, it makes sense. But again, there are also scenarios where it's like that. Well, that's really stupid reasoning, and I'm not a fan of that. But I don't know. I don't exactly know what happened. Kyle from Madison.
Brian, what's up, man? It is Kyle from Madison.
What's up, dude?
How are you?
Good.
So I appreciate, I see you got a bunch of Senior Bowl casts and stuff on here. I got to dig into those. And I appreciate that. And it just kind of dawned on me that of course I'd love to have a first round pick this year next. But, as somebody that appreciates the draft and kind of the process like you enjoy of just checking out all these players and kind of, I don't know if fantasize is the right word, but just imagining how certain players might fit on the roster and what they could do for us. Not having first round picks is kind of neat from a draftnik standpoint.
Yes.
And what I mean is just, I guess usually I tend to kind of fixate on about 20 players, and then I'll because I already know, 10 of them, there's no chance that are coming to the Packers. We're usually picking in the 20s, and so I'll be hopeful that next, usually what ends up being like pick 11 through 20, I'm always hoping for a couple of those guys to follow the Packers, and they almost never do.
Right.
And then when we do get to
And then if they do, and maybe you're about to say this, if they do, we're not going to pick them anyways.
our pick, it's kind of like the low first, high second graded guys, and it's kind of like a little bit ho-hum. What I mean? Just not of course what the players end up being, but just from the lead up, from a draftnik perspective. And so, the fact that we just have our second this year, it's kind of fun because you get to dig into this next tier of players. You can kind of just ignore that whole super hyped, first tier players, as it relates to the Packers anyway. And you can just kind of focus on this next tier of players, like the second and third round players. And I mean, let's be honest, the Packers typically do really well in the second.
Right.
Third has been a little more hit or miss, obviously, but I'm actually enjoying, getting into these players. And there's so much more volatility with where this level of player actually ends up going. A lot of these guys that we're excited about now are going to probably end up, launching up into the first. And then a lot of the guys that we might even think are going to be first round locks start falling a little bit. I think it's really exciting. Just the strategy of it and just the researching of it. I'm actually excited about this year's draft and all the content that I'm sure you're going to have coming out. I'm probably more excited in a lot of ways just because just gives you a chance to dig into just a different level of player. And yeah, man, I'm here for it. So I'm sure you're pumped. I'm pumped. But I think this is going to be a really fun year just for researching players for this draft. So just want to get your thoughts on that, buddy. Thanks.
I'm with you 100%. I made a very similar point recently, just on the fact that, even if you don't want it to be the case and you're not trying for it to be the case, the first round takes up so much of our, the amount of things we talk about, we think about, it just takes up all of the mental space. And, we want to get on to the next round or whatever, but there are times when, like I said, by the time the second round rolls around, it's guys that we haven't even, at least, even if I'm aware of them, haven't covered them on the podcast. So, the fact that we have no choice but to dig deeper into the draft and really appreciate the depth of these different players, because the other thing, you get so hung up on these first round players. When you look at the second, third, fourth, we become like elitist. You look down your nose at these guys like, whatever. And like you said, I mean, look at the second round picks we've gotten and the value from those guys. Look at Tucker Kraft as a third round prospect, or Zach Tom as a fourth round prospect, or even Kingsley as a fifth round prospect, or Valentine as a seventh round prospect. The talent is out there. I mean, look at the UDFAs. Look at our backup running back, who's an undrafted free agent. That's a very talented guy. So I think it gives us an opportunity, like you said, as a draft, Nick. And if you're not a draft person, you could view it as being much more difficult, but you could also view it as being much better, because you're not so hung up on first round pick, because the other thing that's so, I don't know the right word, but these mock drafts, granted, most team people do 7-round mock drafts or whatever, which is good. It forces you to look into other stuff, but it's all first round mock draft. Occasionally you do a first and second round mock draft. It builds like a complex almost, where the amount of knowledge in the first round is shocking. Everybody is a first round genius. The amount of knowledge in the second round drops off incredibly. And again, as Packer fans, if we only knew first round picks, we would not know very much of the team that we have, especially the high quality portion of it. So yeah, there's a lot of value and there's a lot of talent in the later rounds. And the other thing that sucks is when you actually get to the draft, you look at last year, for example, if you mostly just knew first round prospects, you knew about Golden, you're happy, yay, we drafted Golden. Now the draft's kind of over for you. Now you're just kind of a random person just hanging out watching the draft like I used to as a kid when, I'd watch the ticker scroll by and it's like, oh, the Packers drafted Jim Stevenson. Like, I'm sweet. I don't know who that is. I don't know anything about that. Not, you don't know any of these people. Occasionally, maybe you might recognize a name as you're going through, like, oh yeah, this guy's still around. I wonder if never mind. We didn't draft him. We drafted this person I've never heard of. Get immersed. If you're going to try to estimate who the Packers are going to pick first, you can't not cover the first 100. I mean, if you want to skip some for first round prospects, whatever, but you have to go out at least to the top 100, probably top 150, just to make sure that you know for sure who the prospects are we're going to draft in the second round, much less the third or fourth or whatever. So that is the exciting part about this. Exciting or daunting, depending on how you look at it. But no, I feel the exact same level of appreciation for the opportunity here to allow this to let us grow as NFL draft people beyond this first round complex that a lot of us have, and force yourself to dig deeper and appreciate the later rounds, because again, there's a lot there to get excited about. So I'm with you on that one. Well, I'll tell you what, why don't we take our first break, and then we got Aaron from Ontario calling back.
Hey, it's Aaron from Ontario here.
What's up, dude?
I just want to talk a little bit more about Gannon, the guys he's got with him now. I don't think Gannon is as bad of a hire as people. I think a lot more people are coming around. And I didn't mind it at first because Gannon himself, it's a similar defense to Halfley. Not as much blitzing, but they use a lot of the same personnel and styles.
Somebody I saw recently made, and I would butcher the point, so I'm not even going to try to say exactly what they said, but it was something to the effect of, look, let's be honest, all these defenses are the same. On a very macro level, they're all the same. There's nuances here and there, but they're all the same defenses. The question is, how good of a play caller are you? Ultimately, when it boils down to it, you got the preparation, all that stuff, but it comes down to getting these guys ready to play football and then calling the right plays on game day. And the question is, how good of a game play caller do you have? I mean, you can look at Fangio and then all the Fangio disciples and the vast difference, despite the fact they're running the same defense. Yeah, but one guy's a better play caller. He's better at implementing that defense.
And so you already have there, you can use a lot of the same players. You don't have to completely revamp your defense. On top of that, Gannon has a good track record of secondaries, and he's a secondary-minded coach, which was the number one problem last year. Our secondary was very problematic because Gannon's schemes rely on not a lot of blitzing and having a front of four, or even I've seen he's done a lot of five fronts, but having versatile guys just to get to the quarterback. And when he does that, he runs single linebacker, which obviously would be Cooper because Cooper has excelled. He's done a huge jump, leaps and bounds, and his coverage has been amazing this year. So his defense relies a lot more on quarters and ones like that, so that, because what was the problem with the Packers last year? It just seemed like every time the Green Bay Packers defense were against an offense, these plays are constantly like these drives. They're 10 yards. They're 8-10 plays per series,
right?
And you're like, what? It's hard to have these guys go on the field and then they're constantly rotating. Your defense gets tired. And sure, it's this bend not break mentality that the Packers had, but when that bending just keeps bending and bending, you're going to lose the guys. The guys are going to get tired. The guys are going to end up giving up the plays or miss assignments. Gannon does a lot more better coverage. He likes to limit them even getting those underneath passes and just, quick and working up the field slowly. And like how many drives against the Packers were like 7.5, 8 minutes each one. You're gonna really, you're gonna struggle against that because you're limiting your offensive opportunities on the field. And if your offense is just having an off day, then you're done. If your defense, also can't stay off the field and also your defense is on the field the whole time, they're gonna get tired.
Part 2 for Aaron.
Well, I got by the 3-minute warning. And I think the other thing to look at is that what Gannon likes to use his safeties a lot. And who do we have as safety? We have Evan Williams, who is on the up and up, looking like a star. We have Xavier McKinney, who had an amazing year, and he's looking like. And I think another thing to look at is who is the safeties coach now? It's Bobby Babich or whoever. This guy is a safety whisperer and even a linebacker whisperer. Like when he was in Buffalo, he got the best out of the safeties. That there's this one guy, I don't know if you heard of him, called Micah Hyde. He had these amazing season underneath Babich in Buffalo. Like this guy is a great coach. And I think because the Packers front, when you get Parsons back, they will be able to get to the quarterback. They don't have to blitz all the time. And Gannon doesn't blitz a lot. But I think, like I said, you just need to get your defense off the field. Green Bay was 31st last year in times of possession for opposing teams. And they were, I think, 32nd maybe or 31st in, plays per drive for the other offensive team. So we got to clean that up. You got to get these guys off the field. They're wasting the clock. Give our offense more opportunities. And yeah, that's it. Anyways, go Pack, go.
Yeah, I mean, we got to see how it pans out, obviously. But, in theory, if we can do a better job on the back end, the pass rush will have more time to get to the quarterback, and so they'll be able to be more disruptive. Now, that can turn into bend, don't break if the coverage is not doing a good enough job, if the pass rush is not getting home. Every defense turns into bend, don't break if you just can't do your job. But you look at the Philadelphia Eagles and what they were able to do, you're primarily looking at a group of guys that, one, on the back end, And as a result, their pass rush was getting home, partially because of how good their secondary is, partially because of how good their pass rush is. It was a very good unit overall. But, yeah, the idea is you don't need to be passive in that situation. Now, again, execution is always going to be a part of that. And if you can't execute, you're going to end up looking like a bend don't break defense because you're just kind of on your back heels all the time, sucking all the time. So, how good of a job he's going to do implementing that, we'll have to see. It's going to come down to a lot of it is not just him, but how good of a job the players can do implementing it, how good of players we have, right? McKinney obviously is great. Micah is great. What are we going to get out of Van Ness? What are we going to get out of Keyshawn Nixon and whatever corners we end up having? Can we see kind of a resurgence from Valentine under these new DB coaches? There's a lot of reason for optimism when you look at the coaches and when you look at the pieces to just say, why wouldn't this work? Why wouldn't it work? Why can't we get, elite Xavier McKinney with, just all the different pieces making this thing work and being awesome? But, that'll be up to the players and up to the coaching staff to hopefully get those kinds of awesome results. We'll have to see how that goes.
What's up, Ryan? This is Dakota, that nerd in Tennessee.
What's up, dude?
You gave me an in and I took it. I've been looking for one. I want to talk about McManus and discuss why everybody wants the man gone.
Okay.
And that fact infuriates me. Now I'm going to sound a little tired potentially when I'm, going over this. I'm actually more passionate about this. It kind of infuriates me, but I'm a little tired because of this dang winter storm Fern, I think they're calling it, that has gone through Tennessee and everywhere else. And so I'm being deployed on Sawyer deployments where they send me out in the ice with the chainsaw, and I'm supposed to cut away and move a whole bunch of trees and get people unstuck. And
Eesh.
I mean, it's nice. I'm just, it's tired, man. Anyway, so the whole, what's it called? Brandon McManus and everybody wanting them gone thing is absolute bull honey, as my son says. He got injured, and so they brought in Haversick, and Haversick miraculously has never been a good kicker in his life, and miraculously made all of the kicks he's ever kicked.
The Haversick thing is so toxic to this fan base because it gave this false sense of just how easy it is to find another kicker, but also just how elite that guy must be because he kicked a really long kick. Freaking okay.
And then they decided to take the kicker on a hot streak out and put in the injured kicker that just kept missing. And so they're like, well, he's still injured, so maybe we shouldn't put him in. And then they put the kicker that sucked his entire life and went on a hot streak. And then they cooled him down and was like, hey, go do your thing. And then the fans wanted to kill him because he missed. And, I mean, the weather was bad, so, I mean, that's a good excuse, I guess. But he sucked before then. And then they were like, well, he missed, and then we bring in the kicker again, and he's just still not at his best, McManus. And, I mean, more than just the kicker went wrong in that freaking playoff game against the Bears. And just the fans don't ever look at context. It infuriates me that they seem to lack the intelligence to understand what context is and what the context would mean if they knew it. And usually I'd have more to say, but like I said, dude, I'm kind of tuckered out. So, I should stop using that. Tucker Craft has never been tuckered out. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to let you go. I'm apparently getting loopy in the head. All right, man. Bye.
I still want to go back and look at that. I'm trying not to speak too much on it because I have just a bad habit. I think a lot of people do based on the way people converse about things. But I just try not to talk about stuff if I don't know what I'm talking about, and this would be one of those things. Maybe it's worse than I remember. I understand things were bad. I get that. I understand he missed a lot of kicks, but over the backdrop of how elite his career has been, how unbelievable. I mean, we're talking one of the best kickers the Packers have ever had in the time that he's been here, the very short period of time. I would have to go back and find one of the worst kicking slumps over a very long period of time for me to say, you know what? Yeah, we do need to get rid of him. I'm admittedly very slow to these things, but it's because I understand how bad things can get. And we've been down this road before. We always talk about how, we want to take a special team seriously and we want to do all these things, and because it's so bad when you don't have special teams. Boy, we are quick to want to just get rid of a bunch of really talented people that we have the good fortune of having on our team, because we think it's just real easy to go out and get all these people. As if people don't, teams don't spend years and years and years looking for good kickers and punters, as if the Packers haven't been in that slump, looking for returners, looking for kickers, looking up for all these things. I mean, the immediate feeling of, well, that was bad and I'm mad, so get rid of them. I don't know. You guys are more courageous, I guess, than I am, or optimistic, which is weird because there's a lot of overlap between these people and people that have no faith in Gutekunst, to go out and just find another kicker. Well, that didn't work. Just go get a new one. Okay, yeah, maybe. Or we're stuck without any solid kicker options for the next 5 years. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not like McManus was a very lucky thing that we lucked into. That, it was because of all kinds of other issues that he ended up even becoming available. And then somehow Brian Gutekunst was able to convince him to come here compared to a lot of other places. He came here and was remarkable. And I understand what happened in that last game. But I'm not exactly understanding what happened over how long of a period of time to make him like the worst, like, idiot kicker that has ever existed. I don't get. But again, I will reserve the right to go back and double check that, and I may come back and go, never mind, it was worse than I thought, and yeah, maybe he needs to go. And listen, should we bring in competition? Yes, we do that every year anyway. Bring in competition, that's fine. But McManus is that you do that with the understanding that McManus is our kicker. And similar to Mason Crosby, I mean, it's going to have to be freaking catastrophic for the opinion to end up being that McManus needs to lose this job, from my perspective. Dakota Part 2.
Okay, hey, this is Gray. So I haven't heard from you in a long time. Like, I finally made that armor that I was talking about, the Minecraft armor that looks like Green Bay Packers player. Yeah, my dad might have told you already, I play football, but I feel like in 2023, the Packers did better. But in 2024, like, I feel like they got worse over time. Because they did so good at 2023. It was so good. Yes, I watched these with my dad. Yeah. Bye.
That threw me off for a minute, and then I remembered you had told me, Dakota, that your kid was going to call in. So I don't know. Gray, you said his name was. Well, Gray, it's cool to hear about the Minecraft armor. I don't know anything about Minecraft, but I know my kids play it all day long. So that is very cool. The closest thing to that I play is Stardew Valley, which I can't craft my own armor, but I can craft like swords and stuff, But I agree, 2023 was a fantastic year. 2024 was tough, with the injuries to Jordan Love and all that kind of stuff. I feel like this year we kind of rebounded a little bit. Micah Parsons helps with all the injuries and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully 2026 is the best year yet. That's my hope. And you'll have to have your dad send me a picture of your Minecraft armor so I can check it out. I'll show my kids all that stuff and see what they think. They can explain to me what's going on. But I appreciate your call, buddy, and hope to hear from you again. All right, let's take a break, and we got Beer Cheese Benny on the other side.
Hey, Ryan, Beer Cheese Benny. It's been a while.
Yo.
I feel like it has been a while anyways. But I'm doing all right. Just been doing my mock drafts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, a guy that I just keep seeing in my mock drafts that I can't refuse to draft, and on NFL mock draft database or whatever it is, whatever site I use to draft, they say.
And I have told you, and I have told you, Beer Cheese, you are required to use my website to do mock drafts. NFLDraftGrades.com. That is a requirement. By the way, I use I basically just rip off their consensus big board, so you can still use that. I'm just saying. But anyways, please continue.
The fit for this guy is the Packers, and that's Grayson Halton out of Oklahoma. He's a defensive lineman. Well, when I first start doing these mock drafts, I just kind of pick guys, and I'm like, okay, I don't know. Because I know a few of them. And I usually just kind of pick based on, best available, based on the ranking of them. But, as you get deeper into it, you start really looking these guys up, really looking up their tape, the highlights. And Grayson Halton, when I look at him, he just seems like a guy that would be perfect for the Packers. He really would be. This dude does not get fooled by anything, in the run game. He sees the ball, he finds the ball carrier, whether that's quarterback or running back. And it's just incredible the way he moves for his size, like how quick he is. And there's another guy, Logan Fano out of Utah, edge rusher. Dude, I love this guy. I watched the highlights. It just looks like the dude, you are not going to fool him. These little. They do those trick plays. He's gonna find the ball carrier, and the dude is just he just gets around everything, man. It's awesome. So I don't know what you think about those guys, but in my latest mock draft, I did have back-to-back corners picks. Now, one, I don't think the Packers would ever do that. Well, it's not to say they would never do that, but I just don't think they will. But dude, in this one draft, I had D'Angelo Pons as our first pick at 52, and then Malik Muhammad at 84, and I was like, well, dude, I gotta pick it. Those are two great corners. I don't know. I feel like when you get into a situation like that, the Packers can't pass up on these guys, and we are gonna have to do best available, man. I don't care if it's we're in a situation where it's oh man, we really need this. But, there's, a balling-ass running back or something left. Because I really think we should get a running back. The Packers cannot pass up on guys like that. They need to do best available for show, but with need in mind. But, yeah, those are a couple guys I was thinking about, Ryan.
Well, I appreciate you, and one of the benefits of doing, and I saw that you called that other number. I appreciate you, Beer Cheese Benny. Always there to support your boy. If you don't subscribe, you hate cripple people. You know how it is. But one of the benefits of doing that other podcast, the NFL Draft one, is that it forces me to really dig in, and so that should help with the Green Bay Packers podcast. I just did quarterbacks, so it's not as interesting, a little bit, and we'll talk about that a little bit tomorrow, but or not tomorrow, the next day. Tomorrow's podcast is already done. It's going to be fun to start digging into this and being able to converse a little bit better with you guys. I'm kind of behind a lot of you right now, especially kind of picking out certain guys like Grayson Halton and whatnot. I haven't gotten to that point yet, guys outside of the top 100. But I will say he's kind of a nice segue into another thing I'm probably going to talk about I'll talk about it tomorrow. It'll be on 2 days from now's podcast, is I was just kind of poking around in the Facebook group, looking at some of the comments, and there's a lot of talk about defensive tackles, and I had some thoughts about that myself in terms of it's mostly just kind of an anti-narrative thing that I do all the time, where it's we have to do okay, well, let's look at it, and da-da-da-da-da. Just kind of being a jerk like that. But the interesting thing that was discovered in doing that is that when you look at these defensive tackles that are successful in stopping the run, very few of them fit the prototype that you would expect. In other words, only one, I think, was a, drafted guy that was, not a first-round pick that is like 325 plus, like one in the entire NFL. There's a lot of 300, 295 guys that are run defenders. And that's Grayson Halton. He's kind of an anomaly in that he is a primary run defender that wins with technique and speed and agility and angles and all that kind of stuff. So I think Grayson Halton is the kind of guy that a lot of Packer fans would stick their nose up at and say, this isn't what we need. We need a big, giant 330-pound nose tackle. Not really realizing that in drafting Grayson Halton, you're hoping to still get that this non-typical nose tackle. I mean, Kenny Clark was kind of a non-typical nose tackle. He was, 308, 310 in that range, but he was typically put in the nose tackle position. I think he was kind of miscast as one, but it's kind of a similar thing, even though this guy's, 20 pounds lighter than Kenny even. But that would be kind of the thought here with Grayson and probably several other guys. The point is, don't get so hung up on the 325 thing. Don't get so hung up on we need an obese person to be our nose tackle. We have a lot of guys that are massive that are not good. We've talked about that a ton. We just need guys that can do the job that we need them to do. So we shall see. But that is definitely an interesting prospect. Again, I haven't had the opportunity to sit down and watch his film, his tape, whatever, but 4 years at Oklahoma, he's gotten better every year in terms of the run defense. And the benefit is he offers more than zero as a pass rusher at that size. He is more than 10% pressure rate, 5 sacks, which is not elite, but it's not the worst. So certainly intriguing. Not the direction a lot of people are looking, but I think something that I'm going to be kind of paying attention to is, you don't have to be 340 pounds to be a good run defender. Doesn't hurt, but evidence will show you that if you just look across the NFL. But appreciate your beer cheese. Omar, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on? So Omar the Firefighter, how y'all doing? It's the off season, so, I got to do my annual movie suggestions.
Yes.
So, wanted to let y'all know a movie, called Sin Help. Very great movie. I give it a 10 out of 10 or at least a 9 out of 10. Basically it's about secretary who's like promised a promotion or a worker that's promised a promotion, and then the supervisor like dies, and then his son takes over the company, and then him being like a trust fund baby, he don't really care about her because he's like sexist and stuff, and she's not like a super attractive woman, so he doesn't really care about her. And, it doesn't matter if she did a great job for 20 years and he promotes somebody like that's one of his friends. Anyway, so she feels underappreciated, and they end up getting stuck on this island. I won't give away too much, but they end up getting stuck on an island, and she knows how to survive and he doesn't. So it's kind of like the roles switch. So it's a good movie if you ever felt unappreciated, or if you just like, ever felt like somebody did you dirty. It's a nice little semi-revenge movie in a way. I don't want to spoil too much about that. I was going to fill in something else too that we normally talk about during the off season, but I know Predator Badlands been out for a long time, so I highly recommend that if y'all like any Predator fans out there. That was a great film. And I saw Dracula. It's like a new Dracula movie coming out. I got to see it before everybody else. And I like Dracula movies, but this one's it's not bad. It's just like a unique take on it. So one second it's like funny and next second it's scary, but it's not in a good way for me. I wouldn't recommend that one. Mm-hmm. But if you're a big Dracula fan, then you might really enjoy it. But other than that, that's all I got for today episode of Firefighter Omar's Reviews. But I will definitely call back soon with some more football questions and shows or whatever. So anyway, go back, Joe.
That's awesome, dude. And by the way, fantastic off-season content, as things sometimes can get a little bit slow. Omar is our resident movie buff. So send help. I will. I'll check that one out for sure. That is I think that was kind of a newer one, right? Yeah, 2025 movie. So I obviously been busy with all this football stuff and whatnot, but I need, in the down times, it's good to have, especially if I'm going to be watching film now, which I'm going to have to. I've been watching a little bit of quarterbacks and stuff today. Put up a movie on the other monitor. Not bad, man. I appreciate that. All right, we'll do one more call with Drew in Green Bay.
Hey, Ryan, it's Drew from Green Bay, and I haven't been calling in much lately, so I've been busy, but I do like the hire of Jonathan Gannon. I think that, for me, it's more about the days with the Eagles, where I think he was pretty solid as a defensive coordinator, and that's why he got his head coaching job. And he never really I don't think he really had the tools that he wanted with Arizona. And I think, if he runs the scheme that he ran with the Eagles, where it's like basically just wants to rush four guys, and he doesn't really want to blitz too much. And I think that'll do really well for us with Parsons. And then on the back end, I read that he liked to do quarters, so a lot of DBs. And I feel like even though our DBs aren't great, we kind of have a lot of them at the same time.
Right, which is kind of the benefit. I mean, you think about it, on one hand, you could say, well, you need DBs, and we don't have them and all that. It's like, no, you need a really good front. You don't need great, you'll take great DBs, but the point is you have more DBs as sort of a crutch on the back end. It's the guys that are being neglected are the guys up front, and so that's where your strength is going to need to be. So it kind of looks perfect for what we have. Like you said, we don't necessarily have. I think the safeties are borderline elite. McKinney certainly is. But it's not about necessarily having elite DB. We have decent to good DBs, and we have a lot of them, right? We got guys like Oladapo that we haven't hardly even seen yet. Bullard is becoming pretty solid. Keyshawn is he's certainly underrated. He's not elite. He's probably not even good, but he's definitely not bad, like a lot of people would say that he is. Same goes for Valentine, who is, I think, basically a good corner. He just, the season didn't end very well. It didn't end very well for anybody. And so the last snapshot we get is the one that we all remember. But we have plenty of at least serviceable guys to run that kind of a system while also having the strength being up on the front. We do need defensive tackle help, I think. Maybe need some depth off the edge. But, I think it lines up pretty well in terms of if you had to pick what kind of a system or scheme you were looking for. You probably, even though everybody wants the aggression and bring more guys up front, I think I'd rather the opposite of that.
If you're including guys like Nixon and all of that, then hopefully we can get a guy or two in the draft, though. But I think he tries to limit how difficult their job is as well,
right?
By letting the pass rush get there. But
exactly.
Overall, I think Jonathan Gannon was a solid hire. He was in my top 3 or 4 for hires. So I was a Jim Leonard guy, but I think that was a bigger risk, and I think Gannon is less of a risk, and I still think he could have some really big upside. Problem with, look, when we went into college and we took a big risk on a candidate and Jeff Hafley, and it worked out really well, but now he was gone after 2 years. So, I think they want Gannon's a guy that if he's solid, he'll stay with us for a while instead of every 2 years. If he succeeds, he's moving on. And if he fails, then you're stuck with him. So, well, let's see what Gannon does. But that's the main hire. I haven't been following the positional coaches too much and all that, but I'm excited for the draft. With Wyatt coming back too, I think we don't necessarily have to get a defensive tackle. Wooden did pretty well, Wooden and Wyatt. it'll be interesting to see if they try to strengthen that or if they just try to strengthen other positions. I could see going for a tight end because, with Kraft's injury, and we probably want another guy anyway, you can use 2 tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
Musgrave didn't really do anything. I think
right.
Tight end would make a lot of sense in the draft. So anyways, have a good day. Bye.
Well, yeah, like I said, I mean, you can pretty much justify almost any position depending on how early you're talking, and we don't have any first-round picks, so there's very few that you could say at any point. I mean, I don't think we should go quarterback in the second round or obviously any special teams in the second round, but I would prefer not running back in the second round, but, I don't know if it was you or Beer Cheese, actually, that mentioned this. I think I forgot to talk about it, but as far as potentially running back, there's talk that we might move on from Josh Jacobs. I don't know how legitimate that is. Again, I haven't really dove into that and done that episode yet, really looking into our free agents and the cap space and all that. We'll have to do that very, very soon. But that is a genuine discussion that is kind of gaining some steam right now. So point is, you can talk about just about any position making sense, including tight end. As far as the Gannon thing, I'm having a hard time because I'm trying not to do what Mike Hebring is talking about, which is people just kind of rationalizing after the fact. And if you are, it honestly doesn't matter. We do that with draft picks, and I think it's honestly a good thing because why not? We don't know what's going to happen. Why piss and moan about it? Why not dig into the positives? They obviously picked him for a reason. Why not dig in and figure out what those reasons are? But at the same time, I want to be rational and I want to try to figure this out logically. And if it's a bad hire, it's a bad hire. But I mean, even the way you're talking about it, Drew, I'm kind of looking at it and I'm thinking, it's almost apologetic sometimes when we talk about it. It's like, it'll probably be okay or whatever. Again, I haven't fully done this like a lot of other things on the back burner right now. But I think there's a genuine possibility that the Packers, this was the guy they wanted. Like 100%, and they weren't wrong in saying that or wanting that. And again, when you look at the sack production, and you can talk about, well, look at the players they had. Okay, look at the players they had the year prior and the year after. They didn't do what they did with Gannon. Well, the year prior was Gannon. But the year prior to that, we went through it. Like these players' best years, and in some cases their best 2 years, are their 2 years with Gannon. They're having a little bit of a resurgence with Fangio, but not to that extent. It was a very impressive thing that was done with Gannon when he was there. And I think, as much as we can rationalize this positively, I think people are kind of rationalizing it negatively as well because they didn't get their Jim Leonard that they wanted. And so it's, we can kind of make excuses for why it was bad. Well, it was only 2 years and it's because of all the talent they had, and look how bad he was with Arizona, and their defense wasn't any good, or whatever the case may be. I think there's also a lot of that going on. So, again, it is my mission to try to help sway people that are on the fence with this, not lying either, and it will always be a question mark. But I think the point is, again, he was a very, very, very highly sought-after defensive coordinator, much more so than Jim Leonard was. A lot of teams desperately wanted this guy as their defensive coordinator. That's not shocking. The Packers got him, and I think they're doing backflips right now that they got him. And so the question is why? Why? And don't again rationalize this. Don't just jump to conclude as though they don't have a mountain of things that they know about this guy, right? The things that we know are almost nothing, barely surface level information. So the answer to that question off the top is we have no idea. And to sit here, to just jump in and talk about, well, yeah, because they panicked or because, they're so stupid and they just think about that 1 year in Philly or whatever the case may be. No, that's not true. That they're not that stupid. Where they're just sitting in a room going, oh, I don't know, Gannon. That's not what happened, I promise you. All right. Anywho, I appreciate all you guys. We got 2 calls tomorrow for Garrett, so there may not be an episode depending on if you guys get your calls in, 608-501-0718. Also, there is another show number now if you want to call in, specifically talking about the draft. Obviously, you can do that here, especially if it's Packers related. Otherwise, 608-561-3243, place where we can talk more about draft prospects and things of that nature. Call in with your mock drafts. We can talk about that. Whatever it is. I don't know. It's a new thing. So that would be appreciated if you could consider supporting that show. And again, yesterday's podcast, I guess it would be, earlier today it was launched, was on the top 10 quarterbacks, the guys inside the top 200 on the consensus board. Tomorrow, I don't know, wide receivers maybe, probably do wide receivers. So we'll be getting into a lot of positions, obviously, a lot of which are potential targets for the Green Bay Packers, at least at some point, and that includes quarterback and wide receiver. Think it over, consider it, if you got the time. Anyways, I'm going to get out of here. Y'all have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.